Hello everybody, my name is Spooky. Welcome back to another Stadium video. Today we have received a brand new patch update for mainly Stadium, where we're going to see some pretty significant changes to Freya, Tracer, and Brig. I'm going to dive into each of these changes, talk about what it means for the game, and I'll also talk about how these changes affect my view on these heroes and if I think they're still viable or if they're OP. Without further ado, let's get started. So what better of a way to start off Spooktober season than with a brand new Stadium update here on October 1st. Let's talk about these quick notes here real quick. So they fixed an issue where players near their predicted rank started to gain extremely low Stadium points. This is something that I had to deal with myself. We're about Legend 4 and we're gaining like +2 every win. So obviously the game wants us to be Legend 2, or sorry, Legend 4 is where I'm at. It wants us to be Legend 4, but it makes playing it past that point kind of useless. So I'm glad that they've taken a look at this. We'll see how this changes in the game going forward, so we can at least climb up a little bit, you know what I mean? Next up is we have adjusted the Stadium ranked distribution curve to make it easier to reach elite rank for most players. Now, this should mean that you should be getting more if you're below elite, and the game at least thinks that you should be elite, which I think it's saying basically all players should be able to get to elite. You're probably going to be seeing more points, especially if your predicted rank is above elite. You should probably get there quicker, much quicker, hopefully. It says we have made adjustments to reduce the amount of Stadium points lost when players lose a match, as each round one now provides a greater reduction in the overall point loss. So this is kind of obscure on what they mean about how this affects overall, especially when you're like close to your predicted rank. All I can think is that maybe they're just trying to make you still be able to rank up. So it's still kind of that system where it's like you're still, no matter what, you're still ranking up. Basically, is at least as how I'm taking this. We'll see how this goes going forward. And the final point here, we have made adjustments to the maximum and minimum amount of Stadium points that can be won or lost from a competitive match. And I think this is what they mean by like you can rank up much quicker. And I think once you're at your predicted rank, what they're wanting to do is that you can win or lose at a larger amount, so it doesn't feel like you're fighting for grains of like Stadium points, which is basically where we're at. We're gaining like 30 and we're losing like 30. And when you're in Legend and you have to get like 1,000 points to get to the next tier, it feels kind of useless to be doing that. So I'm glad, hopefully they're at least trying to make a change. We'll see how that looks going forward. The developer comment said the dynamic updates to Stadium competitive have made progressing the system feel more difficult, as players are not finding their predicted ranks faster. Now, personally, I feel like it found it pretty decently fast for me. I think it took about like maybe 15 wins to get to Legend. So I think in Legend 4 is definitely our predicted rank. So it got us there pretty quick. Me personally, I didn't feel like it took us too long to find it, but have been hearing of some people that it seems like even though they're winning, they're not gaining much, and it's still not really their predicted rank because they're not losing any Stadium points when they're still ranking up. So it could be very frustrating for a lot of players. It says we are making improvements to smooth out this experience, and we'll keep a close I assume on this as we head into season 19, and we'd love to see it. So I have noticed they've been taking a really good amount of attention on Stadium lately, which is a really good sign. That means that they see the promise in Stadium. That means they're probably going to be investing more resources into it, which for those of us who are enjoying Stadium, that is awesome. I am super excited about that. Now let's jump into the hero changes for Stadium. And before we continue, I just wanted to take a second to talk about the new t-shirts that we got for Spooktober. This month, we're doing a lot of really fun stuff on stream, and I wanted to make sure I extend this to you guys as well to celebrate with us. This is our Spooky Bash 2025 t-shirts. I'm actually wearing it right now. You can see it. On the back, we got Spooky Bash 2025, and on the front is the same logo. We got the moon and then a little bat up there in the top. Right. If you guys want it, it's link is in the description. It's going to be available till October 30th. And it basically can get shipped anywhere in the world. I don't think there's a few restrictions, so check it out. Again, links in the description if you want to grab it. You only have 30 days to grab this, and after that, this one's done. So grab it while you can. Spooky Bash 2025. Let's go. And let's continue on with the video. We're going to take a look at Freya first, which I was a little nervous on this. But after looking at some of the notes and how they want to change these things, We'll see. So the comments say Freya has had the lowest win rate in Stadium for an extended period of time, which for those that have played against Freya, you wouldn't have guessed that. But yes, she does have one of the lowest win rates. So we're adding some more consistency to her builds to make her more competitive amongst the DPS roster. We're aware, though, this is the important point, because when they said that, I was just like, you give Freya to somebody that knows how to play Freya and is a really good DPS player, and they will run that lobby. So that's what I was like, that's a little nervous for me. They made a note here, and then they went on to explain the notes. So we're aware she has a very high damage ceiling in the right hands. So these changes are aimed at helping her consistency, but not raise her damage ceiling or one-shot capabilities, which is the really big problem here, is that it's really annoying to play against, and a lot of times it just feels like cheap shots on certain Freyas, especially when they combo with I don't know how to, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this power, though. When you updraft, you automatically shoot a take aim arrow. Really easy to like spam a bunch of arrows out. So I don't know why they gave this one a buff in particular. I feel like this is also part of the problem, especially the one-shot effectiveness. So I would have liked to see something more with like her regular primary fire, like take some stuff outside of her take aim a little bit more, because that spam is really annoying. So they increased the effectiveness to 30% reduced effectiveness, up from 40% reduced. So now the updraft take aim that she shoots is going to be stronger, which that was confusing to me. But you know, I'm not the devs here, so we'll see what that means. Seismic shot is her power. They increased the explosion radius to 50%. I've seen some people run this. I don't think it's really a massive issue. So going up to 50%, we'll see that a little bit more ability power type stuff. So like to see that. Forager, that is increased max life heal per shot to 5%, up from 4%. It's a 20% increase, but like, again, I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference. A little bit more sustained for Freya, as long as we're keeping the overhealth in check, which we have been since Ironclad exhaust ports got nerfed. I don't see any problem with giving her a little bit more self heal. That's no problem. Deep Pockets, this refunds your ammo on any ability use. So ammo restore on ability use is increased to 40%, up from 25%. This is kind of what I mean by like maybe we drift a little bit more towards putting some more power into her primary to encourage people to actually use it. Because right now all it is Freya players are just spamming take aim arrows, like 3-4 in the matter of like a second, which that's the annoying part. So at least this looks like it's going into that direction a little bit. I don't think it's going to change people's build styles. I think it's going to be the same thing so far from what I can see. Valiadu, which again, I probably just butchered that pronunciation. Increased damage on additional bolts to 50% reduced, up from 66% reduced. I never see somebody run this ever. So I'm fine with that. This is another way that maybe we can increase some more of those primary shots. So at least we're putting a little bit more into that. So we'll see with Freya. You might be seeing Freya a little bit more. This is what makes me nervous. This one right here. Everything else I'm pretty much okay with. So, but we'll see what goes on there. All right, let's jump down to Tracer here. Developer comments. Tracer has been performing well across the board. We're making it a bit harder for her to reach high amounts of health to make sure that there is still risk involved in her engagements. We're also hitting some of her weapon-focused powers with a few buffs to her other builds. We'll be continuing to keep a very close eye on Tracer, as we know she has a very strong relationship with Stadium's stat increases. And I will say, this is my impression of Tracer so far. I don't think she was that broken. It seemed like Tracer was basically the same Tracer in normal Overwatch than she was in Stadium. Now, there might be some people here that are probably going to disagree with me on that. Let me clarify here. You put Tracer in the hands, like she's basically the highest skill cap hero in Overwatch. That's up for debate, but she's definitely up there. You put her in the hands of a really good player and they can carry lobbies. They really can. Now, you also put her in the hands of somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, and they're absolutely throwing the hardest you've ever seen somebody throw it. So it's a very volatile hero, which is what we mean by it has a very high skill ceiling, which means if you're like the number one Tracer player, like that skill ceiling means you can like absolutely outperform all like the other DPS heroes. which is kind of how she is in Stadium right now. Which is what I mean, like, she seemed balanced in the fact that, like, the normal Tracer player didn't seem that out of control. Every now and then I'd run into, like, a top 10 DPS, you know, running Tracer, and it would be absolutely suck. It would suck, but I'm used to that, right? When I'm playing, like, in high elo lobbies and normal Overwatch, that's always been the case, and you know what? Sometimes you just kind of got to roll with it. The nice thing about Stadium, though, is you can build around that, build into more survivability, so at least you can stay alive for a little bit longer against that, and you can play around it. So I didn't see how that much of an issue, but they felt like they had to change some stuff, so let's take a look at them. Chrono Crux. That is her Stadium passive that reduces the health from health items in Stadium, which before it was 25. That's why when you would buy an item, it said 38 health instead of like 50 health. Now it's 35% less, which is, I don't know if this is a great idea. That kind of sucks for Tracer players. I don't think like the health was that out of control, but you know, we'll see how this works. So 35% Tracer, that's a pretty significant nerf to items, health items that we'll see. So we'll see how that goes going forward. Alternate ending, that's the one that basically just heals your team. Healing increased to 100% of the damage taken, up from 75. I think it was the previous 3 seconds, so it's just a little bit more healing, which I do agree with this. I feel like alternate ending was underperforming. Every time I ran it and like tried to use it, like intentionally was trying to heal my team with it, it was just so lackluster. The amount of healing I did was just not that great, and I ran it in multiple games, and I'm telling you, man, it just never. I'm sure people that play Tracer can agree with this. It just wasn't that great. So glad to see that we have a little bit of a buff. We'll see how that changes things. Blink of an eye. This one actually got nerfed. Again, I didn't see too many people running this one. This is where when you hit a crit shot, it reduces your cooldown on blinks by 0.04 seconds for every headshot that you hit. I didn't think that this was super crazy, but I guess they think it deserved a nerf. So 0.04 seconds. So at least that got nerfed. I don't think it's a big deal. Foresight, this is the auto lock. Everyone loves it, right? This got reduced to 4 shots down from 6. We'll see how this goes. A lot of people have been complaining about the auto aim. I personally don't think that was that big of an issue, but I could see how this can get really annoying, especially in like lower elo lobbies where people don't really like it's easier for them to hit shots, so it feels like you're getting gypped a little bit more. Again, this isn't something I felt was like super basic because mainly the Tracer players I play against hit all their shots anyways. So it was like something I was just like, okay, well, this doesn't seem very out of normal. So I think this is going to help a lot with, this is probably a good nerf in the fact that it's going to help with like lower elo lobbies. Feel like Tracer's not as abusive, especially for like console players and stuff like that. That could get really annoying. So I agree with that. Temportal. Increase the portal's duration up from 8 seconds from 6 seconds, so it just exists longer for people to use. I'm gonna be real, I have never used this in a match, and the reason I don't is because it relies on your teammates to be aware to use it, and I don't think until this is more widely adopted I'm gonna pick it up. I don't care how long it's sitting there, until people are more aware of what it does. It's just not going to get used as much as you would want it to. So I think it's going to need to get buffed a little bit more to encourage people to use it more. It's something that it will get value no matter what, even if people don't use it. Maybe just like a little burst healing once the portal, like if it doesn't go used, the portal explodes and does a little burst healing or something, or a little bit of damage. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Until there's something like that in it, I don't think this is going to get adopted enough to where people are going to start to realize, oh, I can take this portal and heal myself. I don't know. It's too conditional, and I don't think that's going to change for it. Chrono Bomb. This is the item that does had 50% AP and did massive debuffs on I think attack speed and move speed, right? 30% reduction. And it also had an explosion radius increased by 50%, which is amazing item. I already liked it to begin with. This got like buff kind of, and this is what I mean. It got its a base ability power increased to 20% up from 15, and they just increased the cost by 500 credits. So like, in my opinion, this is a buff. 500 credits for an additional 5% AP. That's a buff in my book, especially for like a higher item when normally credits are less efficient than lower items. This is like in my book technically a slight buff to the item. So there you go. I don't know why felt like they needed to do this, but I mean, I'll take it. Sure, why not? It was already a pretty decent item to begin with. All right. Brig. Developer comments, Brig's damage buff to Shield Bash in the core game in the midseason proved to be a large unintended damage buff for this thing. It has been overperforming. We're bringing down the bonus damage to be more in line with her other powers to ensure variety in her build pass. And this is something I've seen. I feel like people locked onto the shield throw pretty early because it is strong, right? It is strong. And that's all people were running. That was it. That was literally they were running Shield Bash. And I get it. It's pretty decent. I don't think it was carry. I do think there's a few more build pass. The only thing, like we have our packs build that we run with Brig, which is a completely passive build, playing back with healing packs and whip shots and its AP and all that good stuff. And it's proved to be one of the most, probably in my opinion, the most effective. We've got a 65% win rate with it right now. Really easy to run, works in just about every scenario. And then we see people running Shield Bash too, which also gets a lot of value, but I can see how this one gets a little bit more attention because you can see it as a little more annoying, especially considering that she does a lot of damage and she can live a lot. But I don't think it's any more effective than the Pax build. What I would like to see, and I think a lot of Brick players would also like to see, is giving us some viability to build into her weapon power, because it seems like we're almost getting punished for building up into her weapon power because you don't really get the survivability that you'd like. So I'd like to see a little bit more touches on that. When they say ensuring a variety of her build paths, I don't see how this is going to ensure variety in her build path. This is just going to nerf one of the build paths of the two, in my opinion. There's either AP or Shield Bash. So that's it. So we'll see how that changes. But again, I'm not the dev, so what do I know? And let's see. We got an Armory update, which we saw this. This is interesting, and I think I kind of agree with this. So they increased the cost of Codebreaker to 10K, up from 9K. And I agree with this because 15% for a purple item, 15% is pretty decent. And you also get 50% armor reduction, which was also pretty good. So this comboed with Talon mod, you could get 30% weapon power for 15K, which was really good, which was really good for that mid game, right? So I could see why this would be increased to 10K, especially with a lot of our armor characters in the game getting shredded really quickly, like Monkey, when he's not doing his jump builds. Brig obviously is a little bit more fragile. And this goes down pretty quick, especially when you grab Codebreaker. So I have no problem with this going up to 10K. I think it'll be probably obviously it'll be pick less. But it'll still be you might have to be more intentional on why you're grabbing it. You'll probably only want to grab this if you're trying to do damage reduction. It's not just okay, well, I have credits to spend, let's get 15% weapon power with Codebreaker, even though they're not running armor. That was completely viable to do that. So I can understand why they did this. Now, we do have some bug fixes if you guys had any issues with this. One of Moira's powers spawned biotic orbs without reduced duration like it was intended. They fixed that. Farah's triple volley rockets, where they dealt more damage than intended. You might have ran into this. They actually took this power out a few days ago. So I guess this is just back in now. And then Reinhardt fixed an issue with his camera, which happened to me all the time when I was playing Reinhardt. It would lock on a weird angle and you just be super disoriented. So they fixed that. And then Soldier 76's peripheral pulse didn't deal a reduced damage to the additional targets during tac visor, which I don't think I didn't see people abusing that too much. So maybe this was just a little tiny one. But those are our bug fixes. So my final thoughts on what we're looking at with this Stadium patch update. It's tinier than usual. Also dropped on a Wednesday, which is weird. But what we're probably going to see is, in my opinion, Freya will be played more. And I do think Freya, they buffed the thing that honestly I had an issue with in the beginning, and I think this is going to make this even worse. In lower, maybe mid to lower lobbies, I don't think you're going to have that much of an issue, but if you're normally a diamond or above player in comp, your elo matches in Stadium, you're probably going to be running into even more powerful Freyas now, so rip us. Because the other ones, I don't think these buffs are going to change what people run enough. Tracer, for the most part, going to be squishier, so that's great for people that want to be able to kill her. For Tracer players, you're going to feel like paper, probably more so than more papery. Yeah, just a little bit of nerfs to that. I don't think the changes that they had on this is going to change her too much either. So we'll see. Brig, obviously, with her boomerang reduction, this is pretty significant. 40% damage instead of 60%. This is going to feel much weaker to you guys when you're running this. But the nice thing is it's still going to proc with like aura farming. You're still going to be able to use it as an ability damage to proc other things. So it's still going to be viable in builds. It's just not going to be like a primary damage thing anymore. It's just going to be more of like a bonus damage, especially with them buffing the base damage of Shield Bash. I guess this kind of makes sense that they have to like compensate a little bit because that scaled up immediately when they increased the additional damage from Brig Shield Bash. I think last patch update, right? So you'll probably just feel a little bit less on that front. Now, I'm pretty excited to see how this changes. Little less excited about the Freya, but again, we'll see how that goes. Anyways, that is it for the patch update today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll talk about it. Yeah, that's going to be it for today. We'll see you on the next Stadium video, everybody. Thank you for watching. Peace.